Good to see you again, and if you're new, welcome to my channel. Today we're here to show you the easy way to understand better the manual mode. I'm sure that you hear a lot of the time the professional shoot only manual mode, but it's not really that the reason. The reason is because you need full control of your camera to get the best result, or at least to get the result you got in your mind when you're shooting around. That is the real reason. As myself at the beginning, I was shooting in aperture mode because it was easier, you know. I was keeping low the aperture and the camera was doing all the rest. I never had to worry about anything else, and I'm sure that was getting that deep of field that I wanted, the classic bouquet around my subject and all the rest. And part was because I was lazy to put myself into the trouble to understand exactly how was working the manual mode, and also because I was intimidated by it. I mean, I was thinking that too many parameters to thinking about. When you go out, you have only a few seconds to get your picture and to shoot. So thinking about the shutter speed, thinking about the ISO, thinking about the depth of field, all the stuff was, really intimidate me. But honestly, now I can tell you that if you understand only few things about your camera, you're already on. So it's not that difficult how it looks. Another way to tell you what I'm thinking about the manual mode is that thinking yourself about driving, if you drive in a car. If you remember at the beginning, it was a bit complicated because you have to think about everything, the gear, the gas, the brakes, the street and whatever, you know. But by the time you get to the point that all these operations get automatically in your mind, so you start to enjoy your trip without even thinking about what your hands or what your feet was doing, you know. Well, in photography is the same thing, and if you're looking at photography as a long term, as a future profession, or simply just to get better photography, you need to understand how is working the manual mode. Thinking about that, if you go in aperture, I'm Italian, my English, aperture, yeah, aperture priority. Yes, you're sure about the depth of field, so you're gonna have a nice bouquet just in back of your main subject. But you have no control about the shutter speed, so image can be fuzzy, or you have no control about the ISO, so maybe in that moment you thought that you have a nice picture, but when you back home you check it out on your computer, then you see that there is a lot of noise on your image. That because the camera decide for you to use a very high ISO, so you got a lot of noise on your picture. Just that the main reason why you're supposed to at least try to understand better the manual mode. So let's jump on it.
You've gotta know that nothing lasts forever.
So let's open this image. It represents a section of the camera. All the camera is working the same way. So what you have to remember is that we can divide the camera in two parts. The first part, we have the sensor. The sensor is represented on the whole time film, and the sensor have to do with the ISO. Lower is the ISO, less is the noise. Higher is the ISO, higher is the noise. So when you shoot at a low light, you work indoor, you have to work at least 400, 600 ISO. If you're working on outdoor, on the sunny day, you can still keep on 100 ISO, and you're gonna have a beautiful quality of a picture. After that, we have the mirror. The mirror is referring to the shutter speed. Basically, when you click, the mirror is moving up and let the light touch the sensor. So higher is the shutter speed, more quantity of light come to the sensor. After that, we got in the lens. The lens are referring to the aperture, of course, so which is normally is represented by the F. Imagine the aperture like a ring. Smaller is the ring, higher is the F, like 18 or 22. Less light will pass through. All right? Wider is the ring, much lighter will pass to the lens, and you will have the kind of bokeh effect, you know, the depth of field, when everything in back of your main subject is out of focus. That basically is how it's working. This has the only three things that you have to care about. Now we're gonna go in details, but we're talking about lens, which is affecting the aperture, is expressed in F. Then we have the mirror, which is referred to the shutter speed. And then we have the sensor, which is referring to the ISO, so the sensitivity of your film. The three things we talk about is expressed in the well-known exposure triangle. We have the ISO, and it's referring to the noise on your image. Then we have the shutter speed, which is determining the sharpness of your image. And then we have the aperture, which is determining the depth of field of your image. To say in the simple way, the aperture, when it's very wide, your diaphragm, more light is passing through. So an opening aperture will give you a bigger depth of field. I mean like that. Is that you're gonna have out of focus all the area behind your main subject. If the aperture will be closest, like we're talking like an f22, you're gonna have a very large depth of field. Everything will be in focus from the object next to your camera till the horizon, more or less, just to understand me about the concept. About the ISO. The ISO, we say that is referring to the noise, to the grain. So lower is the ISO, like let's say 100. You're gonna have a very clean image without any noise. But if you are in low light condition, then the things change. You have to increase your ISO. The maximum now in the camera can be like 25,000, 25,600,000. Anyway, we say higher ISO. Your image will be very, very noisy. So it depends on what you would like to do. Shutter speed. Shutter speed is referring to the sharpness. Now, I will make it for you easier. At the moment you have to go in manual mode. When you have to shoot a picture, you have to think, you have only two questions to think about. Supposed to be three, but there are two. Why? We're not talking about the ISO because, of course, we try to keep lower as possible all the time to get a better quality of a picture. So what we have to asking ourselves is, what kind of depth of field we're looking for, and what kind of a shutter speed we want, how much sharpness we are looking for. When we answer to this question, which is referring to the shutter speed and to the aperture, automatically we know how much will be the ISO. You know what I mean? So we do an example with a sport photographer. We have an action for me as a sport photographer. What is important is to freeze the image. I don't want to risk they're gonna come fuzzy. So the shutter speed is my priority. We are in the sunny day. Let's say that I will put the ISO 100. So once I know the shutter speed, let's say that we put 1 to 4000. After that, we have to determine the depth of field, so the aperture, the f. Let's say that I will work with 16. Like that, I will have the perfect exposure for my need. So for a frozen image and a good quality of a picture with almost no noise. Let's say that the light condition is changing, so the light is moving down. What I will do, I cannot touch the shutter speed because it's my priority to frozen the image. I can move down the aperture, or I can increase a bit the ISO. In my case, I'm looking for the best quality picture I may take, so I will prefer to lower the aperture. That's mean to making wider the aperture. Alright? We're making another example now. Let's say that I'm a landscape photographer. It's daytime. For me, my priority is not the shutter speed, because it's a stable image, nothing is moving, but my priority is the depth of field. So what I mean is how much big is the area that will be on focus. That for me as a landscape photographer is my priority. I will work with f22, and let's say that I will put my ISO at 100, my shutter speed at 1400. That at the moment will be my perfect exposure. If the light change, I will need to move up my exposure where I can play. I cannot play on the aperture because that is my priority, so this is supposed to stay like that. I have two options: or to increase the time of a shutter speed, or to increase the ISO. There is something moving like the sea water, which will make the fuzzy effect, like a dreamy effect that I'm looking for, that I will be very happy to increase my shutter speed. If I cannot increase the shutter speed, I will need to move up to increase my ISO. That's it, guys. If you're thinking about a second, you have only to answer to two questions: how much depth of field and how much sharpness you're looking for your picture. I made for you two examples as a sport photographer and landscape photographer because are two extreme. And once you know your depth of field and once you know your shutter speed, the ISO will be the lowest as possible. I hope that everything was very clear and simple to understand. If you have any doubt, any question, or maybe a topic for a new tutorial, please let me know by leaving a comment down below. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe is the best way to support my channel. And at the next.